Hi friends, how are you? Today I'm going to talk about book again, so welcome back to the book club. Today's video, I want to chat about a book reading challenge that I just discovered not long ago. This challenge is not challenging you to read longer books, and it's not challenging you to read more books, but it's a challenge to help you get out of your comfort zone to read a book that you might never will pick up, and then to read more diverse books. So here is the challenge that I am about to share with you. I stumbled across this reading challenge for 2023 from Vroman bookstore. It's one of the oldest independent bookstore in city Pasadena. It's kind of my go-to place when I'm getting books. So when I walked in there was an entire reading challenge session of book recommendations, as well as this pamphlet that they encourage people to join them. This bookstore has a lot of different events hosting authors speaking, Q&As, as well as book club, stuff like that. And when I saw this, I thought I'm going to share this with you. At a first glance, when looking through the list, I see most of the stuff are things I will never think about reading, and perhaps a little bit not feeling interested in. I think this is going to be a very good opportunity for me to also getting out of my comfort zone a little bit, to experience different type of genre, different kind of topics that I might never thought about to read. Booker wants to be here with us. Hey. So basically I took this list of challenge and did some research, picked some books that I'm interested in reading, but some of the topics on this list are so outside of my comfort zone that I need your help here. I need you to give me some recommendations if it just happened to be something that you are interested in. So in this video, I'm going to go through all the categories on this list with you, and I also share with you what's my pick, and I hope you can also share with me what would be a better book in the category that you think I should read first. In this way, through this video, both you and I can kind of discover more new books. That's something that we might never read if we were doing this challenge. Hopefully you can also join me. One thing I want to highlight is I don't want this kind of challenge to add stress to our reading. Reading is supposed to be fun, supposed to be enjoyable. So no pressure to read everything on the list. I think this list is more of a guideline to help us discover more books that's outside of our comfort zone, that maybe when we read those books we can expand our knowledge or worldview a little bit. So okay, let's get started. Number 1, read a fiction and a non-fiction pairing. So I didn't know there's such a thing as fiction non-fiction pairing, so I did some research. My understanding is to pick a fiction book and a non-fiction book, which are 2 books. These 2 books should be dealing with similar topics, similar issues, things like that. So I want to try to get through the book on my bookshelf. So I went through my to-be-read list from the book that I already own to pick 2 books that I feel they kind of similar thematic-wise, and one is fiction, one is non-fiction. So the 2 books I picked is these 2. I think it makes sense, right? I'm not sure. Have you read them yet? I read a little bit. I know Why the Cage Birds Sing from Maya Angelou, but I never finished this book, so I think this is a great chance for me to kind of read through this book. So this book, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Hurston. I know it's a classic in the US, but I haven't read it. I've been owning this book for quite a while now, so I think this is also a great chance for me to read this book. And let me know what's your favorite book pairing from non-fiction and fiction. Okay, yeah, that's my first pick. Second category is to read a book that you own. And for this category, I'm not going to pick a specific book because these 2 are books that I already own, and then in the next several category I have a few books that's also pre-owned book, so I'm not going to pick a book for this one. But I think this is a good category to do because a lot of us probably have books on the shelf that haven't read. Maybe this is a chance for you to get that book done. Next one on the list is to read a book by a famous author that you have been avoiding. So for this one, my pick is Stephen King. I've never read any book from Stephen King. I know it's kind of weird, but I've been avoiding reading thrillers and horror. I just don't think I can handle it. I started reading it a little bit, and then just the first few pages already kind of made me feel terrified. But that might be because I was reading at the nighttime. I don't know, but okay, I'm going to challenge myself, and I did a little bit of research. One of his books that I always very interested in reading is The Misery. So I'm going to pick Misery for this category. So I'm very curious which famous author's book you haven't read. Even though you know everybody talk about their book, you are such a book lover, but you never read their book. And then what was the reason that you never read their book? Just leave in the comment down below. I'm so curious to know. And the next one is a Western book. So this one made me feel very uncomfortable, kind of make me leap out of my comfort zone a lot, because for some reason I never interested in Western genre, no matter it's film or stories. So now I have to read a book about Westerner. So I did a little bit digging, and I actually found a book I'm very interested in. It's actually Asian Western story about gold miner during the gold rush. It's called How Much of This Hill is Gold by C. Pan Zhang. I think it's gonna be a very interesting read because I always want to learn more about the story background of the gold rush, and this story is completely setting around that time with Asian American and how they deal with their society at that time. Yeah, I'm going to definitely check out that book. And the next category is to read a book with detective as the protagonist. Again, I don't read much of a thriller detective story, and this is another one make me try my best to get out of my comfort zone. I couldn't quite think of any story that was detective as a protagonist. If you have any recommendation, please let me know. But for now, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here that I'm reading The House in the Pine. It's also a little bit thriller-ish that somebody trying to figure out a crime. It's just the main character is not detective, but she's technically detecting something. I already started reading this book from January, and I'm getting this book from library, so save money from buying books. Next one is a award-winning children's book. Once again, how fun is that? How often we will take a look at a children's book? At least I don't. So I want to start doing research about children's book, and I actually find a bunch of them quite interesting. And then the one I picked called What to Do with an Idea. It's by Kobo Yamada. I hope I pronounced the author's name right. Basically, this little book is a book to teach kids what are you going to do with an idea, how to evolve a small idea to something big. I'm very looking forward to see what's the wisdom in there, because that's something even as an adult that we are still struggling to figure that out, and how can we hold on to the idea and then to make it become something real. So the next category is read a book that retelling of a myth or fairy tale. So I already own some books related to this topic. I actually bought this one from Hawaii. So when I went to Hawaii, I was amazed by the richness of the culture there. So I got this book because I want to learn a little bit more about what this goddess Pele, I hope I pronounce the name right. If I don't, please forgive me. I'm really interested in knowing what she meant to them, because when I went to Hawaii, being so close to the nature, walking into the dark tunnel from the volcano, that made me experience the power of the nature itself, which is for the native people is the power of a Pele. So next category is to read an adventure story. I picked The the wrinkle in time in this category. Just because I've been hoping to finish this book for a long time, I've already started and never be able to pass 50 pages. I don't know about you, but I have this problem of not able to finish a book. A lot of time I read the book through like 1/3 of it or halfway through, and I will feel like, oh, I'm reading so slow, it's time to change to another book. It's always very easy to get through the first 50 pages, but to finish a book, it's always been a problem for me. And the last year I have been dedicated to finish unfinished book, and then that worked really well for me and make me feel very accomplished. So I'm trying to add those books onto the list. Adventure is always something I'm very interested in terms of stories, so please let me know if you have any other ones that you highly recommended that I can add to my reading list. So the next one is very interesting, is to read a book banned during the past 3 years. Not the book banned a long time ago, but past 3 years. So I did a little bit of research on this topic. When they say banning book in the United States, mainly it's about certain school that parents have concerned about certain books, so they banning the book within the school. There are a lot of books that's still banning at the moment. The one that I picked is called The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. So apparently this book was written based off the author's life experience. There's a lot of content that's very violent, a lot of bully, very sexual stuff that's written in the book. So people have a concern. A lot of schools have banned this book. But apparently it's a very good book and a very important book to read, so I'm going to check it out. So the next category is to read a book about athlete or sport. This is by far probably the biggest thing that will be outside of my comfort zone. I'm really bad at sports. I don't exercise as much as I should, so naturally I don't feel interested in any topic related to the sports. I need your help here. Is there any book about the athlete or a book about certain sports that you think it's going to be very interesting for me to read as an opening introduction to this world? Please let me know. So the next category is a book that recommended by a friend. In this category, I'm going to read Midnight Library, another book that I started, never finished. So this book, this is just a jacket. It's not even mine. It's the book. I actually have the book up here. So this book is not even mine. It's from my friend, and then she recommended this book for me, and then she just told me that I can use her copy, and then she gave me this book about a year ago. Again, I started that, never finished. Usually it takes me a shorter amount of time to finish this book because I'm already halfway through. But I need to get it done and then give it back to my friend. I wonder if she still remember I have her book. Yeah, let me know. What was the book that was recommended by a friend that you read the book and then you were so grateful that you were recommended that book? Please let me know. I want to know what kind of book can catch in a lot of people's eyes, and that's very recommendable. So the next category is to read a book set in the decade you were born. I was born in 1990, so I trying to find a book in the 90s. What I'm thinking about reading is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I choose that book because it's been on my list for a long time, but I never bought this book. Every time when I stumble across this book in a library or in bookstore, I wanted to pick it up but never do. So this is a sign to check out this book. So what was the decade you were born, and then which book you would pick for this category. So the next category is to read a National Book Award winner. I was thinking in this category I want to pick a poem because I want to try to make it more diverse. So I did a little bit of research on National Book Award winner on the poem category. So the book I choose is Faithful and Virtuous Night by Louise Gluck. I believe that's how you say her name, but I could be wrong. So I went through Google Reads and read reviews about this book and samples about the poems, and these sound very interesting, and I'm very looking forward to read this one. Now it's the question for you. Do you have any book that is a national award winner that you really love that you want to recommend to me? I think another one I read and I really love is by Patti Smith, Jazz Kids. I believe that one is also a National Book Award winner. That's probably one of my favorite memoirs so far. So if you don't know which one to pick, I definitely highly recommend that one. The next category would be a book that's written by an indigenous author. In this category, I've actually listening to an audiobook currently called Breeding Sweetgrass, and I absolutely love the book. It's written by Robin Wall Kimmer. This book is so beautifully written, and it really take you into the world of nature and really make you questioning not only about your relationship with nature, but the way you live. I really enjoyed this audiobook and I'm almost done with it. I'm actually thinking about buying the physical copy and reread the book with the audio in the background, because first of all I want to take some notes because there are so many beautiful things that I want to write down and then remind myself. So I want to do some margin notes, stuff like that. And the second is the audiobook was performed in such a calming way. That's why I want to listen to the audio accompany with the book. If you never get a chance to get a physical copy of this book, definitely check out the audiobook. It's very meditative and it will bring some stillness for you. And this is actually the book make me start thinking about I want to start growing my own potato. The last three category, I haven't picked any book because it's just far out of my comfort zone that perhaps you can give me some book recommendation. The first one is to read a graphic novel. I read a lot of Japanese graphic novel when I was a kid, but I haven't been really in touch with graphic novel for a long time. So if you have any recommendation about graphic novel, please let me know. And the next one is a book set in Japan. I've only read one book that's set in Japan by a Japanese author long time ago, and I felt really traumatized by that book. It was quite depressing, and since then I never read any book setting in Japan again. I think I was really impacted by that book. Do you have any book recommendation that's set in Japan? Please give me some recommendation. So the last category is read a ghost story. Again, I'm very scared of ghosts and scary things, so those are the things I always avoid to read, but I'm down to try it out. So if you have any ghost story that you think it's very fun to read and it's not too long, please recommend for me and for each other. And yeah, those are all the categories on this challenging list, and I think it's totally okay to overlap them a little bit. Some categories can combine together into one book. Again, this is just for reading more diverse book, not for reading more books. Let me know if you like this challenge and if you are interested in joining this challenge, and what are your book pick and what's your book recommendation for me. If you haven't checked out my previous book club video that I'm talking about slow reading, you can click right here. And thank you so much for watching. Be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye.